Okay, we are live from my bedroom.
That was brilliant.
It was brilliant. On location. I sound like I'm all
Good job.
verbery. I sound all...
No, you're fine.
Yeah, it doesn't sound as was it timber, chip? What's the word you use when someone's voice is full? Has a lot of wood to it? Timber?
Okay.
You would say timber. Okay, so I'm not getting the timber that I would like. Here we are, now live on location from my bedroom. Here we are in an actual studio with a guy I like to call Rohn the music guy. I've known him for a minimum of 10 years. We both work on a show called Out There with Melissa DeMarco, as well as he is my cameraman who's taken my headshots over the course of the last 3 years.
Photographer.
Photographer. I said cameraman, didn't I?
Right.
Nice. So just jump in there, and now he has his not now he has, but now you have a working studio that is crazy. This room is so inviting, and I now know I'm at a professional level, and I'm very upset with my rinky-dink setup for my my radio show here, and just being surrounded by a ridiculous amount of equipment that we should probably just use your equipment. I'm not too sure why I even brought my board, since you have this crazy soundboard, and we're just surrounded by technology for the audio purpose.
We could have used it, but you're mobile. You need to be able to do this
I
all
do.
the time.
I need to be able to understand my own equipment, and of course, you're the audio guy who can help me understand my equipment, which is fantastic. And we also have, at the beginning of this show, we started with my son, not Ron, playing the keyboard. And as you can tell, if it's not me playing a song or one of my guests, my children are in the room. And that's how these podcasts roll. I am talking with my children in the room, keeping it at that level so you can enjoy the conversation and not be worried that your children are in the car. That's kind of the idea.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not cussing. And if we do cuss, we apologize right afterwards to the kids in the room. So it's that kind of quality of show. And now we're in as I said, this space that seems to be extremely inviting, and I now want to be creative and write a song and play a song and not hear...
Oh, good. That's the feeling I want to get when people come in. I mean, I've always had these two big rooms. I just never used them in this way. And what I've done is I've kind of made as much efficient space as I can. There's one really big room for musicians and equipment. And then we're sitting in the mixing room, which is where all the engineering goes on. And
you're also qualifying that maybe this is where the singer might sing. If you had a full band set up
I'll be able
in
to
the
put
other
a
room. vocalist
in either room. You're going to do your vocals separate anyhow. But I mean, I could set up a vocalist in this room. I could set up a vocalist in the other room.
Right. No, clearly you could. And this is RDC Music.
RDCmusic.ca is going to be my new handle. I'll have the website up in a couple of weeks. I'm just waiting. I'm going to do a photo shoot first of the
suite,
of the studio. Yeah,
we should be calling it a suite, or there's got to be a word that describes
just a studio.
It's
nice looking.
It doesn't give it the right flavor.
Yeah,
studio apartment. No, this is a suite. Have you guys been in the symphony? Like what do we call this setup? You know?
I think people are going to be surprised. I've had a couple of people come down when they open the door and they walk in and they say, "Wow, this is like in the bottom of your house."
Yeah, no, it can't be. And I as you were saying, there's a lot of different. I've been to home studios before.
Yeah,
and the qualifier for when you feel like you're in a ridiculous home studio is this: you can see the talent through. Ooh, that was me, right?
Yeah.
You can see the talent through the window, and you're hearing them only through headset. Like right now, my children are in the other room playing your drum set.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
and we can't hear it.
Yeah, the rooms are fully soundproofed, and we've got these panels that you see around the room are all audio sound bafflers.
I was noticing them.
Yeah.
Are they like sconces?
Yeah, they're actually they're stuffed with special material so that when sound goes through the room, it absorbs it. In fact, when we first did the room and there was no sound panels up in the room, there was lots of reverb, natural reverb, so you would be talking like you were in a tunnel. And then as we put up the sound panels, the sound deadens itself to the way it is now, where you can tell by when you're talking there's no reverb.
Right. I mean, we're clearly in a space where
we're in a big room.
You can stretch your arms out. The sound rooms that I've been in are either a box. You're literally in a box, or you're at home, wrapped yourself in mattresses. Have you ever done that?
Yeah, that's
you just take a mattress and you wrap yourself around, and you can get the clean, deadened air that you're looking for.
All the walls, ceilings, everything's been soundproofed. so that the feeling is you're absolutely in a recording studio. So the sound is absolutely dead.
Yeah, there is. I don't see any egg cartons anywhere. There's no carpet on the walls. This is clearly a setup. And so these aren't.
It's called rock sol. You put the rock sol material in behind your sound panel. So I have rock sol in the walls, and then I hang the sound panels.
Is that like a brand name?
Yeah, it's a brand name.
So what is it actually? Like foam?
It's like a special, it's like a fiber. Like you know the way you would insulate a wall.
Yeah.
Well, this is the highly professional soundproofing, so that when that goes in the wall,
so there's no electricity in that. Those aren't sconces.
No, the only electricity is we did a nice little gimmicky. We backlit it with some LED lights so that we can turn them on. But in reality, when they go off, there's it's just the panel. It's just a wood frame with rock sol and soundproofing material on the panels, and then we got gimmicky and we backlit them all.
It's gimmicky. I think it's beautiful, and it
nice.
creates I'm gonna use the word again. I like the sconce. That's what they are. They're lights all around, but they actually have function because you're saying they're proper sound panels.
They're proper sound panels. Yeah, and then I'm gonna cosmetically I'm gonna go around and hang some guitars up in between them all and put up some of my old awards and that. So it'll look really nice when it's done. You're coming in like just on the eve of when I'm going to have this thing done, but another week and everything will be finished.
Oh man, because again, one of the qualifiers of any of the places I'm going, can I sleep here? And I because it's live from my bedroom on location, and I clearly have slept here. We've recorded over hundreds of hours of voiceover for the television show out there with Melissa DeMarco. You as the sound recorder, sound engineer, as well as the music guy who created for the first 4 seasons or 5 seasons, it's only your music in the show, right? There's no other talent at all. It's 100%, unless we had a musical guest. The show is completely for the first 5 years, button to button music from
and even
from
now
Ron.
primarily I think a half-hour show. I think
it's clearly 80 to 90%. Yeah, it's a big number because of the theme song as well.
Yeah. We opened it up because we thought it would be really good to help some of the talent with their albums.
Oh, 100%. Oh no, it's also they're going with the we're pushing it like they're esque. They always sound like a Justin Bieber esque or
whatever.
Yeah, a Nappany Lady esque. And everything through you is well, of course we like the audio, the lyrical. But for the first couple of years, nothing was really lyrical. Most of it was instrumental. Most of it was like we got to crank this stuff up really quick
because we got to put out a show next week.
Music gives movement. Music gives energy. Music gives emotion. Music is so powerful. If you watch something with or without music, it motivates.
Look at any scene in any movie and take away the music and see what kind of emotion is.
Right, your music is definitely
that's a lot.
Definitely made it. So it makes it better. And when we were here all the time, now we're in a closet, just for the functionality of the whole thing. But when we were here all the time, it was not easier, but at least we had another ear. Someone else. You were laughing at the things we were saying. Like we don't know what we're doing. We're just
it's like writing a song. You don't know. I mean, in your own mind, you think you're doing really well. You really like the song, but until somebody else hears it and tells you it's really good. So I mean, when you're writing a piece of comedy and you're laughing your head off, but until you hear someone else laugh, you don't really know if it's going to be taken.
That's what's happening. Well, we truly are trying to make ourselves laugh. Anything that goes on to that show, we don't walk away saying that wasn't really funny. What do you think? But when you have somebody who's invested in the show, who like yourself, who heard you had no visual, you had no idea the context of the things that were happening, and you were entered.
Well, we do a lot of the music backwards. I mean, most TV shows, or if I get approached to do some type of a corporate thing, they usually give me the footage first, and I look at it, and then you write the music to the footage to make it match. In our case, Melissa will call me up and say, Ron, I need something crazy. I'm climbing a mountain. I need you to write something about me climbing the mountain. And halfway through, I run out of gas.
Right. That's right.
So then
that was the episode last week.
Yeah. So then what I do is I sit down and I write something that's really motivational that sounds like you're going to get to the top of the mountain.
Right.
And halfway through, I run out of gas, basically. And so that's sort of the way we do it. So she'll say, okay, I've got a scene where I've lost my keys. I'm in a panic. I need music to match. So I'll write 3 or 4 things that are like crazy and almost psycho, like what am I going to do? And then she'll call me up and say, I'm doing a scene where I'm really tired. I'm in bed. I don't want to get up. Can you write me something that's a little more melodic? So it works well that way. She tells me what she wants. I give her 2 or 3 examples The thing that you guys do that kill me all the time that's really funny is when you'll call me up and say, okay, we need some Jamaican dining music.
No, we did. We need some Jamaican dining.
You do that all the time.
What music would you hear if you were eating in a Jamaican restaurant?
I need some Italian mafia dining music.
It's always dining because it's a show about an Italian woman who clearly is eating all the time.
I don't know. It's a show. Obviously, you guys do a lot of interviews in restaurants. Because,
well, we'd like to. But we don't like to call them interviews. We like to call them meetings.
Right.
You're meeting the celebrity.
Of course, you're meeting a celebrity.
Right.
But anyhow, that's how we do the music, and it's worked. It's like. It's just different. I mean, I'll get a request for 4 or 5 different pieces, and a week later I'm calling you up and I'm sending over the music, and when I turn the show on, it all seems to work.
Well, yeah, that has to do with Melissa DeMarco being at the helm.
Oh yeah. We all know Melissa's the one who's driving the boat.
Yeah, she's definitely the captain. Yeah. So I brought my children here, as I said at the beginning, because that's how it goes. I'm a father first, and then after being a father, everything else falls into place. And one of the things I like to do is talk to people like yourself, interesting as all get out. And now that I'm having that conversation, my children are going to be are here to hear this conversation, as it's interesting about how a musician makes the music. As my son is also a musician, sort of, kind of.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't put any labels on it. So I brought them here to try their hand. Is that me again?
Yeah. Try
their hand at interviews, talking to people, and so we're just going to have it happen. Sure. So I'm going to pass you over to my oldest. My oldest right now, so he has his own way of doing things. So you have the floor. Talk if you can hear yourself, you're good.
So you do music for Out There with Melissa DeMarco.
Yeah.
You perform all around the world playing music.
Mm-hmm.
And you do Elton Rohn.
Right.
And you have your studio, your own studio.
Yeah.
What's up?
What's up with that? Yeah, I mean, that's when I was younger. I always liked music. I always wanted to work in the music business. I didn't know if I had what it would take to be a recording artist, but I loved writing songs. So I think I did a really smart thing. My father, who worked for a record company at the time, suggested to both my brother and I to go out and get our degrees. So we went out to school, spent a few years picking up our degree, and then rather than try to put my hand as a musician, I went into the record business by working at a record company. And what it did was it allowed me to be around all the musicians and all the music all the time, which you still get that great high of going to work and working in the record business.
No, my Zadie is from the record business too, singular. Yeah. He also worked for Sam the Record Man.
Yeah.
And he went town to town with records to promote records. And at the time, he also had people under his arm, like he represented Gordon Lightfoot and Rich Little.
Great.
That was back in the day.
Yeah, my dad worked for CBS Records for 30 years, so he did albums, and he was on the road with like Janis Joplin and Bob Dylan, and I just thought that's not a job. People would pay to do that. Well, that was his job. So he traveled across the country, and he would go out on the road with a single, say for Burton Cummings, or one of his favorite bands to work with was Chicago. And every time these bands would come to town, we would go to the shows and go backstage and hang out with the bands. And I just looked at this life saying, wow, this is not a job. I would love to do this. Yeah. So I went and got my university degree, and I started working at Warner Brother Records, and that's what that was. And next thing you know, we're at Maple Leaf Gardens watching concerts and hanging out backstage. And then I would go, I started as the smallest job in the company was putting up posters in the stores. That was my first gig. And to this day, I think I was so bad at it that they promoted me out of it because my displays were the worst displays ever.
Right.
One story I can't remember exactly the store I did a display in, but I remember I thought I forgot my staple gun. So I turned around and went back to the store, and by the time I got back to the store, they'd already politely taken down my display and redone it. That's how bad I was at doing displays.
I think my Zadie did that as well. He was also the first to start with the Sunday shopping law at Sam the Record Man.
Oh, cool.
He said the furrier down the street's getting all the heat. Why don't we just open? And I'll pay the tab. I'm okay. So he became the manager for Downtown Sam's.
Yeah, that's a big store.
Yeah. And he's also our link to the Beatles. When the Beatles came to town, he was the same deal. So when the Beatles came to town, my mother and her sister and
everybody went.
They were pictures with them with the Beatles.
Yeah, it's like my dad. My dad was there at the store, not the store. He used to go to all the stores, but he went to that concert when the Beatles came, and because Columbia Records, CBS, had the opening act. So he was there for the opening act, and he said he stuck around for the Beatles for only a couple of songs because it was so loud.
It's just too loud.
Couldn't hear it. He said I had to go.
Yeah.
But he was there. He was there for all of that. And I said as a kid, well, I want to do this when I get older. I want to be in this industry. So I always, but at the same time, I still played my guitar and I still tried to write songs. And eventually I was able to do both because I had a great career in the record industry. I was there like 15 years working for record companies. And then when I left the company, I started my own studio. Through fate, luck, whatever.
I'd rather be lucky than smart. That's for sure.
And I bumped into Melissa DeMarco, and things worked out, and I've been writing music for her ever since. So
right, because you started with her with the Dream Seeker.
Dream Seeker was the first show. She came to me actually. I'll tell you the story how I met Melissa DeMarco. It's kind of interesting. I had been out of the industry for a couple of years, and I was actually at a tourism show in a convention center downtown. And I said, geez, I think that's Melissa DeMarco. And I went up to her because I wanted to say thank you. When I worked at Sony Music, I handled a lot of the artists that the frontline marketing people didn't want to handle. So I handled, at the time, people like Harry Connick Jr. and Otmar Liebert and Tony Bennett and all the records that weren't really considered frontline marketing. And we always had trouble in Canada getting anybody to support the artists that weren't the big successful artists. Well, Melissa's show, when she was on Omni at the time, always supported these artists. So I could always count on her show to, and believe me, when you have an artist coming to Toronto and you don't have anybody that wants to interview them, or it's not that they don't want to, it's just that there's not a big day-long schedule. It's not a big draw, not a big schedule. Yeah. I could always count on a couple of shows, Melissa being one of them. So all I wanted to do was thank her. I said, look, I just want to thank you for the last few years. You've been a godsend for all the artists that come to Canada, and you've really helped me promote them. And I honestly think that people like Melissa were the ones that, in the early days, were interviewing Michael Bublé and all these type of artists. That they're the type of people that really launched their careers, because there's so many people in frontline television shows that didn't want to interview them.
Right.
So, I mean, those are the types of shows that I really think are important in an artist development career.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, she wanted to license music for this new show. She said, Ron, I have this new show I'm doing.
Right.
For Omni, and she told me
was
a little bit about it. It was
first?
Dream Seeker,
Right.
yeah. And she said, I'm looking to license music. So because I came from the record company in the department that actually licensed the music, I said, yeah, you can do it. It's a little bit expensive, but put the budget together, and I can, if you want to license Our Lady Peace or whoever you want to license, it is possible. And I said, at the time, I said, Melissa, I'm gonna give you something. I've been writing music for 10 years. I've never played it for anybody. I've got lots of music. If you like it, use it. Tell me if you like it. So I gave her a CD, and she went on her way, went in her car, put the CD in her car. 10 minutes later, she called me. She said, Ron, you're my music guy.
There you are.
That's how I got the gig.
That's how you got the gig?
Yeah, so now I went back home, and I wrote, it was an hour show, and I think 30 minutes of it was orchestrated score, which was a lot more serious music than what we do for the current show. But it was a nice orchestrated score.
No, I've heard Dream Seeker. I was there in the theater.
Yeah,
I was there
that was great when they premiered it in the theater, and there was the music up there and the full sound and everything. Yeah, it was pretty cool. So, and that show, we actually thought, Melissa told me when she did it that show was only going to air a few times.
Right.
I think the thing is aired well over 100 times.
Well, she keeps adding to it.
Yeah.
Anytime that happens to her life,
she keeps updating it. I know, it's brilliant what she's done with it.
It's a good idea.
So it was a great show. And then after Dream Seeker was such a big success, I guess Omni and whoever she was talking to at the time, networks, were interested in her and doing her own show. She came up with this idea and she pitched them, because I think the way she explained it to me was, Omni, I think, wanted her to go every night of the week for that little 5-minute clip show she was doing. And she had this better idea, saying, look, I want to do a full half-hour show once a week rather than 5 minutes a night. And probably be better to write a full show and do the whole gamut. And they all went for it, and that's how Out There with Melissa started.
Well,
so
that's what a great story. So now I have my youngest.
Yeah.
Or my third,
question number 2.
Or my third oldest, depending on how you talk to it. And now he has his own one. So say hello to Ron. Say hello, Ron.
Hi.
Hello.
Now talk right into the microphone and ask your questions.
What's your favorite color?
My favorite color would have to be blue. I like blue. It's nice and subtle and just easy and relaxing color. That definitely would be my favorite color.
What's your favorite number?
My favorite number? I have 2 favorite numbers. One would be number 4 for Bobby Orr, and the other one would probably be number 12, because for some reason in sports I was always handed 12 when I played football, I was number 12 for many years. So
Because he's going to be a musician. A 1 and a 2. Yeah.
yeah, my favorite numbers are 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, right. Count me in. That's actually my son's favorite numbers as well, 1 and 2. But maybe he's just a Lawrence Welk fan. I like to do the Lawrence Welk, a 1 and the 2 and the... So that was very nice. So
Yeah.
so good. We number 3.
Good questions.
Yeah, there you are.
Okay, next kid.
So Blue.
How many kids you got?
So I just noticed as many as the law would allow. Luckily, I don't live in China. So out here in the it's very trailer park about my children. So I noticed that it's all blue out there.
Yeah, we decided to go 2 colors.
Yeah.
We got the red room for mixing, and the blue
The
room
red
for playing.
room.
Yeah,
Very something. It's like
the red room. It just I refer to it to the red room. That's
But then
where
you're
we're
gonna have to
mix.
get excited in the blue room.
Well, yeah. I probably should have reversed the colors. The red room should be for playing, where you're going to be all energetic,
Yeah.
and this is a little more subtle, laid back.
Cool,
But
yeah.
For whatever reason, I went for a red room.
I like it. There's something I'm energized in this room.
Yeah.
But I haven't picked up a guitar to try to play, and in that space, the outside space, there's enough room to have 12 guys stand up.
Yeah.
You can have 12 guys
yeah.
standing.
Yeah, we
in
built it. We built it to put a full band in there. There's going to be 2 sections for keyboards. I'm going to have my piano in there. We got a set of drums. We'll have all the amplifiers, and there's lots of room to walk around, and everyone with mics. And it's not going to be a studio where you're on top of yourself. It's going to be a studio where everything's nice and wide open. You got lots of room to operate. And then in the mixing room, I got places for people to sit and watch. And
Forget that. You have a whole experience. You got this. You got the hot tub in the backyard.
Yeah,
You got the
well-
barbecue, the deck.
yeah, I think what I really wanted to do was, if somebody wants to come in and do a demo and they don't want to come into a studio and rush around one day and then drive all the way home through traffic, you can kind of move in for a few days. And I have guest rooms to stay in. I've got the back deck with barbecue and a hot tub. You can really relax and take your time and come down and be creative and not have to worry about I'm working till 1 o'clock in the morning. I got to drive all the way home, and you can kind of crash here for a few days, and we'll do your album.
Yeah, see, that sounds like an experience, and at the end of it, I'm assuming you're going to click on as the producer, and you're gonna have part of this man's career in your back pocket.
Yeah,
and you're going to be pushing it on your own side.
I also want to help people. I mean, my belief has always been everybody should try music and everybody should do music, not just those that happen to have all the talent, that get all the factor grants and everyone. I think it's like playing baseball. Every kid should go play baseball, organized sports or something. Everyone, if they want to play it, they should be able to play it. It shouldn't only be for the best players. So with music, I know that if you go into the really big studios, it's really expensive. So I'm going to create a plan to let all these singer-songwriters come in, and we'll see what you got. We'll see if you enjoy it. We'll see if this is something you want to do, and you'll come out of it with a recording of music and sound. Yeah, I think everybody deserves that.
No, all of my kids. When it comes to organized sports, it's another conversation altogether. I mean, it has to be like baseball is a non-contact sport. I like baseball as a get out there and play.
Yeah.
But the other sports, I got 3 boys.
Yeah.
I don't need to put them on the ice so they can punch each other in the face, so that right afterwards 5 guys can gang up on one kid and go, we're a team, and we're all going to punch you in the face. I mean, I don't know about you, but any bully I've ever run into is a hockey player.
Well, there's lots of bullies out there.
Professional, usually.
Yeah.
They're making money in the NHL, and they'll punch you in the face.
Yeah, but there's even bullies in politics. I mean, there's bullies.
Like Bobby
everywhere.
Orr. I don't know Bobby Orr. Did he ever punch somebody in the face while he was drinking at a bar?
Oh, I'm sure there's probably a story somewhere.
Okay, I don't know. That's what my point is that I have 3 boys.
We'd have to ask him. I read his book. I would venture to say he might have done that once or twice. He was a tough guy. Bobby Orr was just a great hockey player, but he was tough.
I was in Quebec, and there was a picture or a huge statue, and I said, "Who's that, Bobby Orr?" And they lost it. I was in Quebec.
Maurice Richard, maybe.
Yeah, that's exactly who it was. I'm not a hockey person. Oh, is that Bobby Orr?
The problem is
Lost it.
Montreal and Boston have a big rivalry.
I didn't know.
In fact, I'm doing a show in Montreal coming up, and what I did was I went out and got a Montreal Canadian sweater. First time in my life I'm ever going to wear a Canadian sweater, and I did it all up in sequins. So I'm going to walk out in my Montreal Canadian sequin hockey sweater.
For Elton Ron.
That's
hilarious.
Yeah, I can't wear Boston. I wear Boston. Doesn't matter how good I sing. They're going to boo me.
All right, so now I have my second oldest or my second youngest.
They just keep on coming.
Yeah, they do, like an assembly line. And he also is going to try his hand. He's try not to touch the microphone. It's hot. Okay,
all right.
Say hello.
Fire away.
Ron.
Hello.
Hi.
And what's your favorite food?
Oh, my favorite food. I can eat. I'm pretty open to food. I've over the years I've started to kind of focus a little more on eating healthy. So I like a lot of things like salads with fish or chicken. I don't eat as much meat as I used to, but I'll still go out for a nice meal. I like going out with friends and to a restaurant, maybe out for sushi or something, kind of treat myself. But I'm all over the map with food. As long as it tastes good and it's well done, I think I can try it.
Well, thank you very much. Again, that was fantastic. So the only beat that I don't think I talked about 100% was the Elton Ron. We all came and saw you at the Port Credit Memorial Park, and it was a fantastic show.
Thank you.
And you dedicated it to your parents?
Yeah, my mom just passed away about June 3rd, so just a couple months back.
I don't know what you call it, the memorial, how you set that song up. I was in the bandstand. So
the interesting thing for me was that was in Port Credit Park, and my father had passed away December 2011, and they just honored him by giving him a star on the Mississauga Music Walk of Fame. So he's right down there with Oscar Peterson and everybody down in Port Credit Park.
Yeah, it's right there.
And that's where we played the show.
That's exactly right.
So before the show, I went over to the star and I knelt down and I touched it just for good luck. And when I was up on the stage, that was one of the first shows I had done after my mom passed. So between my mother passing and my dad's star on the Walk of Fame, it was kind of just a different feeling that I would get than playing a regular show. Yeah. It was a little bit kind of weird.
You
in
could
a
feel
good way.
the energy. You could feel the energy.
Yeah, it was nice. So I dedicated it.
No, and I think you told us about the star from stage.
Yeah.
No, I think you told everyone that it's
I did.
capable.
I said he was there.
It was
I'm really proud of the
fact.
proud of the fact that he had a 30-year career that was really
recognized.
Very recognized, and a lot of people have told me he's not in the Juno Hall of Fame, but they all say he should be.
Maybe he will later on in life.
Yeah, I think the problem is now that everybody that he worked with is now old and out of the industry, so all that's left are all
who's going to bring his name up?
But not everybody. Yeah, it's like that happens a lot.
They don't know they have your father to thank.
I think my dad was there with everybody else when the road was built. And then since they built the road, they've since paved it. And now that they've paved it, everybody that's driving down it is getting all the credit for a lot of things that the guys...
Yeah. Now the people are just going, construction again? Come on. I thought we had this done.
I think my dad was there when rock and roll first started. He was there back in the 50s and the 60s where it was going from like big soundtracks like My Fair Lady into Bob Dylan, Janis Joplin... all these rock and roll bands coming out. And he worked the biggest albums that are now considered the classic albums of all time. He was there with Simon and Garfunkel when they did Sound of Silence. And to me, that was probably one of the most special times in music because everything that came out of the late 60s and the 70s, you had Elvis Presley, you had everybody, Roy Orbison. These songs were magical songs that to this day remain the classics of all time. I don't think there's been anything recently that compares to the classics. Those classics continue to get played over and over. And he was there when they were first coming out. Imagine getting that first record, or being handled the Beatles record or whatever artist it was. I remember when he first came home with this new band Chicago, and he was really into them. And we as a kid, he would put the record on for me. I remember for the first time hearing Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen or Michael Jackson Thriller. He would play me these records before they came out. And
wow. What a crazy story to tell your friends.
It was just magical. And then he would give, we'd be going to concerts when we were little kids. Which
doesn't happen.
Yeah, he took us to everything. And we were backstage for everything. So he lived the magic of those years. So there's a lot of people that say that their career is they thank my father because my father helped guide them in their career.
There has to be a lot of people like that. And did your father like Elton John?
It was funny because Columbia Records had Billy Joel.
Oh, so you can't have both.
Well, yeah, you can, but they had Billy Joel and MCA had Elton John, so really they had no affiliation with Elton John. But my dad heard the record on the radio. I think the song was Honky Cat and Rocket Man were the two songs off Honky Chateau, and he brought the record home for me. And he said, you should listen to this guy. He's really good. And I think my dad liked all the horns that were on the song Honky Cat because he was a big Chicago fan. He really liked the tune. But he was also very clear to me because in 1973, he got me tickets to go see Goodbye Yellow Brick Road show at Maple Leaf Gardens. And Billy Joel was playing Massey Hall the same week. And we went to the Massey Hall show. And we didn't go backstage at Elton because he wasn't on the label, but we went backstage for the Billy Joel show. And my dad turned to me and he said, trust me, in 10 years, Billy Joel's going to be playing the large stadiums, and Elton John is going to be playing the smaller clubs as well. And what happened was, almost 10 years to the day, Billy Joel did the big full Maple Leaf Garden show, and Elton John played the O'Keefe Center.
I was there for the Billy Joel.
Yeah. And Elton played the O'Keefe Center with Ray Cooper. Now, that didn't mean that he couldn't play the bigger shows,
of
but
course
he just said, he goes, things are cyclical. Everything happens with people's careers. And I don't think there's been too many artists that have maintained their success their entire career. Even Paul McCartney. Everyone has little dry spells where they don't write as well as they used to. It happens to almost everybody.
We'll call it wings. No,
Well, yeah, no, but I mean, but everybody did. I mean, so Elton had a space in his career.
I don't know about this dry spell, but I like the calling of the business. I made a call that Elton John and Billy Joel. It was in 1991, and I was with a group of people. I just finished a set my own self, and I said, it would be the best concert ever if Billy Joel and Elton John would do, basically the Fabulous Baker Brothers.
Yeah.
Because when I saw that movie, I was like, this would be awesome if those two people were truly these people, like not brothers.
I think it's great that they got together.
When it happened, I couldn't believe it. My skin got tingly, and I said, I'm clearly going to see that. I'm clearly going to see this concert.
I was happy because, I mean, for years I always said, I'd love to, to meet Elton, because I'd met all the other artists on Columbia, and I thought that was all really cool. But Elton John was pretty much my favorite. And at the time, I was working at Sony Music, and I'd just been graduated, asked to take over Columbia Records, so I was running the label. So Billy was.
Sorry, you were running the label?
Yeah, I was director of Columbia Records for Sony Music Canada.
You were the director of
Columbia
Records.
The label, yeah.
The label.
Yeah. So
okay, I just have to wrap my head around that.
Yeah, from a marketing standpoint, you have someone that oversees the label,
right? So
that every time a record comes out in Canada, I had my. Are you
slipping the DJs the money?
I had a big budget. I had a $3 million marketing budget, so I could go out and buy billboards and radio campaigns and do whatever we had to do to make records hits. So yeah,
because it's not that way anymore, right? It doesn't matter if you have a billboard up in the sky; that's not going to sell you the record.
Well, it's also the record company's not making the monies they used to make, so they don't have the money to spend on marketing. Back when we were there, we were approaching $200 million in revenue. So when you do that, it's nothing to spend $3 million on marketing. Like there was a lot of money being. And
you got a lot of stories to tell. You must,
sure,
with everything.
Oh yeah.
No, well,
the story with Elton John was that because Billy Joel was on the label, I said, okay, this is it. I'm going to meet Elton John. I'm going to go on tour with these guys. And I'm going to go to the sound checks, and I'm going to go backstage until I meet him. So so the first thing I did was I called Billy's manager, and I got tickets for MGM Grand in Vegas. And some of my friends went down on a holiday, so I got all tickets for all of us. We're sitting 7th row, watched the show. We came in for the sound check. Elton's not there for the sound check. He's got someone else who's doing the sound check. So I watched the show. Right after the show, I go backstage. And Billy and his band are there, and there's no Elton. Apparently, he walked right out of the Vegas. This is before he lived there and before he was doing his residency. And he went right on the plane and flew out. So I missed him in Vegas. So I come right back. The next show was at the Sky Dome in Toronto, the famous show where they came out.
The Sky Dome. Yeah. Always to be the Sky Dome. Yeah. Never to change its name.
Well, it was the Sky Dome then.
No, it's still the Sky Dome. People who's listening, Sky Dome.
Yeah, so then, and that's the one where they came out and said, oh my God, this place is cavernous and we'll never play it again. And then, of course, they came back years later.
Of course why wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, he said, he after playing the MGM Grand sounds like they're playing in your living room.
No, it is, though, because it's really set up nice. It's a nice room. It's a very nice room. I've been in that room.
And that show was incredible. It sounded perfect. I mean, everything was beautifully blended. The mix was great. Then we came to Toronto and the Sky Dome where the sound was echoey and banging off the wall. It was just hard really not to.
Hard. It's a baseball.
And it was
diamond.
the same show like 2 nights later, and it just
didn't sound the same. Had the same
sonically. It was just a bomb. So, but anyhow, Elton was there, so I went to the sound check again, and again he had someone else doing his sound check. So he did the show, and then after the show, he left right away, so I never got to see him there. So I went to 3 shows on the tour, and then here's the end of it. Now, years later, I do the Elton Ron thing, and we got invited to go down to play the Elton John convention in Vegas.
Right.
So we went down to Vegas. We did 2 shows down there. We did the Elton John convention, and we played the Hard Rock. So at the convention, the Elton John band was there. Everybody but Elton. Elton doesn't go to these things ever since there's been Death and Friends with John Lennon and everything, because there's no security check on the fans that are there. So anybody could be there.
Okay.
So Elton doesn't go to these things, but his whole band showed up. So I was joking with Davey and Nigel. Davey and I kind of chat sometimes online and everything, so he knows that my band exists. And I was chatting with him. I said, all these years I've been in position to try to meet Elton, and it's never happened. And he just laughed. And I said, I'm not going to ask you to introduce me to him. Don't worry about that. But we chatted for a while just about how funny it is. And he says, yeah, Elton doesn't do any sound checks. And right after the shows, he's like, he's not at all the partier that you would think he is.
Well, he was back in the
Oh
day.
yeah. Back in the day.
Now he's separated himself.
Back in the day, he would party for multiple
He's a married
days.
man now. He's settling down. He has children.
Yeah, he's got the kids.
Yeah, I know. But right. So I mean,
he's happy. He's making lots of money. It's all good.
But it's still on your bucket list to
No, you know what?
to high-five the man.
Not really.
at the
Not
airport.
anymore. Not anymore. I think when I was younger, I thought it would have been really cool to meet him. Now, I don't really have that with any celebrity. I mean, even with the Out There TV show. I mean, you know me. I don't really show up
Yeah,
too
but
much
it's
of the
different.
receptions.
It's different. I don't dress up like anybody else and sing their music. And my introduction to you was I got 3 songs from Melissa DeMarco.
Yeah.
And I said, you listen to this before we started out there. And it was, why'd you give me 3 songs by Elton John? He goes, no, that's not Elton John.
Yeah.
That's the music guy.
I sounded
Rohn.
so much like him.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And there's songs I actually didn't know were Elton John songs, like Leave On. I did not know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not that person. And the song is such a strong song. It's I'm a Yiddish person. It's talking
it's
about
considered one of his best songs.
I did not know that, but Goodbye Yellow Brick Road in my world it moves me every single time.
The interesting thing is for me,
and Rocket Man.
I'm a guitarist, and I write all my music basically on guitar. But since the world of computers and being in a studio and MIDI recording, it's been important for me to learn the keyboard. And once I started learning the keyboard, I selected somebody to emulate to when I was playing every day to get better on the keyboard, and that was Elton John and Billy Joel. And what I started to find out was I can play the piano just like Elton John. That kind of came to me kind of naturally. I think it's maybe the way my hands are built. I have a similar. Elton John's hands are a little stubbier, and mine are the same way. So we both kind of
play with the same vigor.
Well, he uses it as a percussion type instrument when he plays the piano, and I found that that's what I did too. And then when I started to sing, I realized, geez, I sound a lot like him, and I was singing the songs in the original keys. So it just started to work. And we were one day my brother called me up. Long story short, he just said, hey, lots of work going on. Let's just go have some fun. Let's get some guys together and form a band. So I grabbed my guitar, actually, not piano. And we went into a local bar and we played. And they loved us. And the owner said, hey, if I give you a few more bucks, we play another hour. Next thing you know, we're invited back the next weekend. We come back there. There's a guy there with the keyboard. I sit at the keyboard and I sang an Elton John song. And the crowd loved it. And then they said about a few songs later in the next set, they screamed out, play another Elton John song. So I sat at the piano and I sang another song. We finished the show and we were just sitting around the guys in the band. We're happy that it went really well. And we said, you know what, we need to put together an Elton John set because it went over really well. So we did a whole Elton John set, and that's where someone said, well, why don't we just do Elton John all the time?
Yeah, no, you have a knack. You sound like, not that you look like, but you've changed what you look like.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've tried,
your hair's different.
Yeah, I've tried
your body language, and I've now seen you in at least 2 outfits that are
I've
clearly
about 20 outfits.
Well, I've only seen 2, and clearly you can't walk the streets wearing them, or you'll problems.
Yeah,
will happen.
What's funny because
planes would start landing because they're a little bright.
I was in Washington and I got stopped on the street, and someone said, "Do you know how much you look like that singer?"
That singer?
Yeah, that singer. And I didn't say who it was. I said, you mean? And he says, and I went, Elton John, right? And she goes, yeah, you look like Elton John. Yeah. And I get that. I've been stopped in Starbucks. I've been stopped all over. So I think that the look is there. I know I sound like him. I play piano like him. And I've got a really killer band around me. So every time we do these shows, it's so much fun. And we go out and play Elton John. And this week we're going down and play to 10,000 people in Michigan on Thursday. Then we come back to Burlington and play another 10,000 people at their Canada's largest rib fest. You put all that together, you're playing
Canada's largest rib fest.
That's what they call themselves.
Where is the Canada's largest?
It's in
rib
Burlington in Spencer Smith Park on Friday, the 29th
of August
of this week.
Oh, wow.
We leave Wednesday. We're going to be on CHTV.
Okay.
In the morning, we're going to do a little piece in there, an interview. Then Thursday we drive to Michigan and play their Rockin' the Rivers. Right. And then we come back Friday, play Burlington. Right. And that's their Canada's largest rip fest. And then after that, I'm back in the studio writing some more for Melissa.
That's fantastic.
Good life.
And just to wrap it all up, because the 3 things I mentioned, we've talked about everything except for you being I called you a cameraman, but I meant photographer. So I don't, the last time I was here, you had a studio basically set up for photography. You were taking pictures. and so forth?
It started as a hobby. I went over. Actually, we were filming Melissa DeMarco's show in Punta Cana.
Punta Cana.
Yeah, and she invited me to come, and I said, "Well, Melissa, I can't really do music."
The Dominican show that you went down there. We got 4 or 5 shows.
4 or 5 episodes.
Yeah,
It was a busy week, and then she just filmed all week, and it was very well organized. There's a lot of partying going on and everything, but I didn't really have all that much to do because I couldn't write music.
You can't write music while you were there, but you did bring in.
You
brought the acoustic guitar though, didn't you?
Paul, one of the cameramans, brought the acoustic guitar, so I had to do a scene where I was singing the theme song or something.
No, I saw that. No, that was one of the end credits for the Dominican show.
Yeah.
So how did that become a cameraman? You brought a camera with you?
Yeah, I brought an Nikon. I didn't know what else to do, so I just brought a camera, and we went over there, and Melissa asked me. My job was to go up and down the beach and find all the people to come on the show. Preferably the best looking people I could find. So
yeah,
and
you have a knack for finding really good looking women.
I mean this. Well, thanks. I mean this literally. That the people either were my best friends for the week,
right,
or they couldn't. When they saw me,
they ran the other way.
They couldn't wait to. Exactly.
We're on vacation.
It was one or the other. Exactly.
We spent all of our money to get here, sir.
Here's that guy again.
Oh no.
You know what I mean? So it was one of the other. So walking around, going for breakfast and everything, I would either have people turn and go the opposite way, or people coming and they wanted to sit with me. It was one or the other. So I got all these people to go on the show, and while they were there, I did everyone's photos, and I started taking pictures of everybody. Melissa wanted to do a couple of shoots down on the beach, which is not a hard thing to do for me. So having to take Melissa DeMarco's photo.
Well, that's not a hard job.
Exactly, that's my point.
And she makes everything better, I find.
Absolutely, it's really, when you're a photographer and you get to photograph Melissa DeMarco, it makes everything a little bit easier.
I bet.
So I did that, a couple of shoots with Melissa and with about 5 or 6 other people that came on the show. And by the time I came back to Toronto, I was a photographer.
Man, I didn't know that. I didn't know that until this broadcast.
Yeah, and now I've shot, Miss Universe Canada. I've shot with 2 Maxim models. Been to Vegas and Tampa Bay. And
well, I don't think we need to wrap up. I think at some point, you probably, with all the equipment you have here, including the computer, you could do a live stream cast from here and tell us what's going on in your life. And I would love to link myself to that, to come back when you're up and running to do that. And of course, you're more than welcome to come on anything I'm ever doing all the time. And I just like to thank you for letting my family hang out here today.
Yeah, they're having fun in there in the other room.
Yeah, and help me as an audio guy to hopefully get some of the kinks out of this really good microphone that I'm using. But it's not giving me the timbre. I'm using the word timbre that I think I normally get when I'm talking into the thing. I'm not sure. If it's
an ongoing tweaking process when you record.
It is. And so instead of next time we're here, instead of using my equipment, I would like to see if I can get that $8,000 microphone, the $6,000 thing, the board. I like to bring a guitar, maybe have a little ring out, play a music. I like to do original music. I have a couple of songs. I wrote a song for Melissa, only one. Maybe you and I will try to play that song together. That could be kind of fun.
I'm sure we could do that.
That'd be fun as hell. And so I'd like to thank everyone for listening and tuning in, if this is such a thing, of tuning in. Please like and share. And I'd like to thank Ron for letting me hang out here today, live on location, in his studio on location. I'd like to thank my children, my wife, and everyone on the planet. How's that for? Did I get everybody? Yeah. If you're not on the planet, you're out of this world. Thank you very much. My name again is Adam Powell, and we'll see you later.